So two things happened this week for her. If you don't know who Sukihana is, she's a female rapper. She's very sexual, pushes sexuality, everything. All her songs is very sexual. So this week, two things happened to her. One thing is probably stuff people have been talking about in the culture a lot was her and this cat named YK Osiris was at like this place where it looked like it was like she was sitting with a group of people, and she was sitting there, and he came up and tried to kiss her, and she was like, get off me, like she was moving her head, and he was just forcing himself on her. We're not talking about that because we that's whack. We know that's whack. We know we don't do that. That type of energy is that type of behavior is not acceptable. So that was whack. Okay, so then the other thing that happened this week that was under the radar because the YK Osiris thing was just popped off, which he apologized and she accepted his apology and everything. So she goes on a show with Candy from Escape, and she has like a show where she just is very free fall sex talk. Big Gip from Goody Mob was a special guest, and then her co-host was very forward and aggressive with her. Now, if you going back to Sukihana, every time she's getting interviewed with a guy, she's very aggressive with the guy, talking sexual talk with him, and like I'll do this, I'll do blah blah blah. So the guy, he kind of matched her energy on this one, but he was going overboard. He was going like way overboard with his stuff. Showing her stuff. She asked about it. He showed her everything. He was going overboard. You could tell she kind of felt. You said
showing her stuff.
No, show his stuff in a picture form and
on the show.
Okay. It's very raw. I showed Ryan it, but he was talking about it's a very sexual show. So, and people were like, the shade room, and everybody posted stuff like she felt uncomfortable, blah blah blah, and stuff. And then in the comments, people was like, well, that's the energy she gives off. So is it right? I guess the question is it right that guy matched her energy and aggression like she normally would show another male if she was getting interviewed by if she was getting interviewed by a man? She's normally the aggressor in those interviews.
Would she show images? Is that what we're saying?
No, she didn't show no images to him. But the question is, because they was talking about, how can I say this without being wrong? They was talking about sizes, right? And the guy said, I got something, blah blah blah, and she said, show me, and he was like, oh well, okay, and he showed him. So I think the question is, I guess because it was Sukihana week, was that guy being too aggressive, or was it the energy that when she projected herself to, and he just matched her energy?
When people say that, I always think about matching energy as far as like being in a situation where you're matching somebody's anger, right?
Yeah.
In this case, no, it's not, because that was a weird interview how he kissed her. She was in the middle of doing
this is totally different things. This is two different things.
Okay,
yeah. We talking about what I showed you, sent you. Yeah.
Okay. So, man, first of all, man, like I really hope that she has a Black China experience as well, where she comes to.
Well,
the Lord.
She did. Remember, we had a conversation about her years ago. When she talked about she sold her soul and she can't get it back, and hopefully she can get with Jesus again and all this other stuff. This was like 2 or 3 years ago.
I do remember something like that. Yeah, I do some. Okay.
And we talked about it on the show.
But so my hope is that she will. Okay, first of all, because what you put out on social media, what you put out on television, you eventually are gonna have a change of heart.
Yeah.
At some point, either you're gonna get older or you're gonna start having, a family, and
she has kids already.
She does, that's right. But you're going to start wanting to be accountable to that. Like, does she have daughters?
I don't know if she has daughters.
So she has some daughters.
She may have daughters too. I know she has children.
Some daughters. It's going to be hard to keep them out of the OnlyFans set up.
Oh, she had one of those.
Oh yeah, she's in trouble.
I told you her whole persona. I think the question, and people probably asking. I saw in the comments saying, "Why are we talking about this?" I think the question to talk about it is, I think people don't understand people's personas, and sometimes when people do things and they so freely do those things, and then somebody comes and tests them, and somebody in the comments when I saw this story said this is the equivalent to a gangster rapper. When a gangster rapper, in his videos, he's showing guns, he throwing up the set, he talking all this talk, and then he goes to a city, and them guys that's in that gang, in that city is like, yo, you about that life, what's up? You know what I mean? And that's what they felt like this was the same thing dealing with this conversation. So.
Okay.
What do you think, Miracle?
I'm trying to hold my tongue. For one, because I was more ready to discuss the original situation with the apology and all of that.
I mean, we can do that
with
too.
The guy.
Yeah, we can do that.
I mean, I haven't, because I haven't watched the interview, and I am not prepared to discuss that interaction. But I mean, I think something that I will say, based on the apology or her response to the apology, I think it can apply for both that situation and also the interview, right? Like, she says that I'm a human, a woman, a mother, and a daughter. Before I am an entertainer, no matter what my lyrics express, I still have boundaries and a right to have them. So I get that. It's valid. I do understand how when you are projecting certain messages and a persona, like even if it is not her to her core, right? But you're projecting a persona that can be confused with how you operate, even if it's, a different time of day and you're not trying to do that today. So I can understand that. But I think, I don't have a lot to say because I don't understand why you would welcome that type of energy in a platform. So I can't really speak to that. But I do think regardless, she's a woman, she's a person who has boundaries, she should be respected. Yeah. The way that she chooses to communicate that or to express that to people, that is within her bounds and that's within her right. But I think that, people just need to have a better understanding of boundaries. But I get being confused.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Miracle, but what do you think is wrong with her? What do you think this goes back to?
I am not Jesus, right?
No, I know that. But what I'm saying, when you see young ladies out here that are projecting in this kind of way, and it feels like they're just trying to either be in the limelight or overcome some type of insecurity from a childhood issue or something, it just doesn't feel like you wake up one day and you want to be known as a sex symbol because... Well,
I think some people do. I think... Okay, so this isn't nothing new for us. I mean, we grew up on Kim, we grew up on Foxy, we grew up on Trina, we grew up on Luke, we grew up on 2 Live Crew, we grew up on all these people that was quote unquote, I saw somebody talk about it this week that said it was porn rap basically. So this isn't nothing new to what we've heard before. We've heard women talk like this. I think the difference is to a certain extent. I don't think people. I remember seeing the video with Lil' Kim getting backlash about they had her on a show, like a talk show, and talking about different things of that nature. So this is nothing new. I think my thing for me is, and this is the question, is how she talks to men in interviews. Yeah, if she's controlling the interview, if she's getting interviewed and she's aggressive, sexually aggressive, and making him feel uncomfortable, that's cool.
No,
is that cool too?
No, it's not.
I'm asking because that's what she's saying.
I think we need to have mutual respect.
Yeah.
For all human beings. Yeah. I think that this should be something that we accept, we receive, we recognize, that we're not just thinking that we can. But everybody's in their own place, on their own level, on their own journey, right? So that's why I'm real careful because I haven't seen the video. I don't know. I don't have context. But I think we have to be mindful of how we're presenting ourselves and how it can be perceived. But regardless, to me, you have to be careful with these conversations because this is the type of stuff that leads to, it feeds into rape culture. Yeah. And so I'm never going to sit up here and ever act like, a woman is is welcoming something without giving her outright consent. And so it's very important to me to like recognize that regardless of how blurry the waters may appear to be. This type of stuff can lead to people thinking that they can do stuff like, i.e. dude just putting his hands on her.
Oh, yeah,
right. And I know that's different, but
right.
it's all in the same kind of mentality, right?
Yeah.
Of like, oh, I just got the ability. And so if there is, confusion, my hope and my prayer is that people would choose to get clarification, to communicate, and hopefully we will be praying, because this is affecting like globally, you know what I mean, like nationally. This is affecting us, and so it's not just a one person, one, you know what I mean, type of thing. Like this is affecting generations to come. So anyways,
I think the question is, do you think that's a problem that our society's in, because everything is so very, very sexual right now?
Yeah,
especially with hip hop. Like, another conversation we were supposed to have was like how hip hop hasn't had a number one album or a number single hit number one this year so far. And people were just talking about that too this week, of why it was that. And you had different people say, well, it's because everybody's rapping the same. Everybody's saying the same old thing, you know, from the men into the women. Women are just rapping about sex, men are rapping about drugs, kill. And it was like, we're just tired of that. So more people are listening to Afro beats. They're listening to pop music. They're listening to R&B. So hip hop not doing what it's supposed to do, as dominant has been dominated. So that's the question now. It's like, is that something, even using her as an example, just using that, are people to the point where they think because this person has this persona, that they are this, you know what I mean? And this is not just her question, but this is a question for this culture, because if people are not buying in, that means they're buying out. That means they're not focused on you. They may just like your song. They may just like different things. So I think that's just the question of, and how this correlates with that conversation is because people just don't see it no more. They're getting tired of it, you know what I mean? So I think what you said is very real. I think for some men, when going back to Suki, if she is saying that to them, I think they're kind of blushing. They're feeling uncomfortable, but they're blushing about it. They're laughing about it, like kind of cliche. But I think the thing of it is, I don't think nobody deserve whatever. I just think sometimes people feel like, well, she talked to me that way, I'm gonna talk to her back that way.
I think also something that needs to be acknowledged, I don't know if people recognize this, the fact that like black women have consistently been overly sexualized throughout like the history of this nation, right? And so, and hip hop has been more than willing to sexualize black women. There hasn't been a lot of dignifying, there hasn't been a lot of elevating, and giving value to the woman outside of that element. And so what I see when I see women doing these things is it's almost like they're taking the tool and they're like, now I have the power, right? And so to me it's, are we recognizing that this was created prior to, these artists doing these things? Like, they are not the creators of this thought process. They're not the creators of this way of being. They are just like, okay, let me take this and use it to my advantage. Because if we didn't have a society that ate this stuff up, they would not be profitable. They would not be making money, right? So I just want to put that out there, because I think sometimes it's easy to judge the woman and be like, yeah, you doing too much. But it's like, but if this wasn't a part of the culture, it wouldn't hold weight. It wouldn't be impacting people the way it's impacting them, right? So in a lot of ways, many times men are the ones to perpetuate and start these types of things, because it's okay, I want to have access, I want to have advantage, I want to have whatever it is, and women are responding, and sometimes the response is from a helpless place, right? And these women are like, okay, no, we're not doing that, we're gonna have the power, and so it's flipping it, it's on its head. And I'm not saying it's right, but that aggression or that like overt, like I'm coming at you, could very well be a game of me being like, okay, I have power now. So watch how it feels when you're on the other end of it. right? And then it's like, oh, people want to get maybe technical and say, okay, well, it's not right. And I get that. But at the same time, it's like, recognize maybe this is a power play.
Yeah. I think another question about that is when you do it, like you said, you had a power. But do you feel like when somebody flips it on them, then it's like, I'm a woman, woe was me, blah, blah, blah. Is that the same thing?
But what I'm trying to say is that's already the case. Like, men are consistently already doing things to women that, are inappropriate, right? Especially in the hip hop space. Yeah. So that's not like this, oh, wow, this is new. Yeah. What's new is women doing it. Yeah. That's what's new. So I get it's confusing. I get that it's sending mixed messaging. Like, I get it. But if it was to be looked at from like, oh, this is a power play. Yeah. Like, how do I feel when I'm being treated this way? Yeah. How do I receive it? And that's how it was thought about, instead of just, oh, she's doing something that, and I like, that means I have permission to go do X, Y, Z. Yeah.
So here's what I'll say about what I believe is happening, right? I think one of the issues that is concerning for me is, one, when you mentioned that we had Lil' Kim, we had Trina, we had Foxy Brown growing up, I still never really heard unedited versions unless I bought the album or was sitting in somebody's car that was playing the album, right? Yeah. So I heard what MTV allowed me to hear, what BET allowed me to hear. I heard what the popular songs were that were edited on the radio. What I didn't have was social media that was unfiltered, uncensored. What I didn't have was cable at that time that was unfiltered, uncensored, right? But now we have social media. We have uncensored cable channels. We have YouTube that's uncensored, videos going viral, all these clips that you can find sent to your phone through TikTok, through YouTube, through Facebook, through Twitter. Those are the things that were different for me. Now, I will say this. I heard a story earlier this week about 2 10-year-old girls, and one 10-year-old girl assaulted another girl with her words. They were at a public pool, and she was like, girl, you better be glad you got your legs crossed. Otherwise, I'd lick something that you don't want me to lick. And it's like, you're 10, right? Yeah. I have a 10-year-old. I know she doesn't know about that kind of stuff. Yeah. I know she doesn't know about that kind of stuff. And so it's scary to think that unfiltered social media with young kids getting phones at the age in 5th grade and younger, 3rd grade or younger, are getting to access this stuff and learn about this, right? Yeah. And so when you say, we had the Foxy Browns and we had the whatchamacallits, it throws me off. Yeah. That young ladies want to portray themselves that way because we have this new era of women need to be empowered to say what they want to say about their sexuality, and men have been doing this for so many years. Yeah, it's a double standard, but it doesn't make either one of them right.
Yeah, well, I think I'll say this. I think somebody said it best in our comments. Even though I think the difference is from us to them is we still had other female rappers that wasn't on that wavelength. So we still had Lauryn Hill. We still had Queen Latifah, MC Lyte. We still had other female rappers rapping something totally different than what Lil' Kim and Foxy was rapping. Today, everybody's just on that same. All these young ladies that's presenting this kind of music is all on the same wavelength. And I'm saying that based off of this Spotify playlist that is promoting female rap. And if you listen to it, literally, it's the same thing, same content going back and forth the whole time. So regardless of it, and then honestly, some stuff is really us, honestly, because I think as men, when you supported strip club culture for so many years, now it's just them young ladies got off that situation and now they're telling their stories. Yeah. So it's really
Trina and Eve.
Supply and demand.
Right? Yeah. So I think at the same time, it's that, but then also I think people got to support other type of female rappers out there that's totally different than that. You know what I mean? So it's some people on that wavelength. It's just they're quiet and stuff. So
and is hip hop prepared? Like, are we really ready to change the culture in that way to where we're not sexualizing women to where that's not the norm. Like, if the answer is no, then we know where we're going to continue going.
I think one of the bigger issues that I have is how much Christians play into this. You know what I'm saying? Like, we gotta change the content. We gotta change the content that we're listening to, that we're watching, that we're seeing, that we're hearing.
Yeah.
Because if we stop, all those professed, I'm a Christian and I listen to hip hop, if we stop, they'll see a change. They'll see a change. But you know what I mean? And we need more people supporting what we do and what the artists are doing in this space. And that's, I think, our biggest issue. I think that's always going to be our biggest issue.
But to me, that's rooted in heart change, right? Because you, even if you're stopping that, like, that doesn't, to Jeremiah's point, like, that strip club culture, and even, like, you know, porn being like the industry that it is, and you know, like, okay, you can stop listening to it, but, like, are you still allowing your mind? Are you still allowing, you know, your thoughts to believe certain things? And I think the church just needs to get very clear on what is okay and what's not okay, because there are not enough conversations about what is actually appropriate. There's more discussions on women submitting to men and men being leaders than men being viable leaders.
Okay, Miracle.
You know, humble leaders, right? That righteous leaders.
Yeah.
And women being able to trust the man, right? Being able to, okay, I know that you're trustworthy. I know that my worth to you is not just X, Y, or Z. So, you know, that's a whole nother conversation, but I do feel like it's connected, because it's not just the surface, you know, taking in entertainment and media. It's what is behind all this. So,
yeah,
I agree. Well, I think to wrap that conversation, we have to be, you know, filtered more. We have to, and I admit I'm part of the problem. We had a conversation last week at Flavor Fest that we are all a part of this problem, because, you know, some of us still like mob movies, and how can you like a movie that glorifies sin that actually happened, and people are making money off of this, and families are continuing, like the whole Growing Up Gotti. You know, they're making money off of a legacy of a man that was pure evil, who was, you know, convicted of so many different things, you know, before his death. And then we're still seeing how his children are flaunting it on social media, and his grandson's getting ready to fly for it with Miller Jr. So it's like we have to get to the point where we do better. And that's the final word. We got to do better. You're in the field with the Track Stars, Ryan Righteous, Sean Tenna, DJ Jeremiah. Let's go.